For centuries, a really terrifying disease haunted humanity, especially people out at sea. It was this gruesome, horrible medical mystery that literally made the body just fall apart. So today, we're going to play detective and solve the strange case of scurvy. You might think this is straight out of a horror novel, but it's not. This is a real first-hand account from a soldier during the Crusades, written way back around the year 1300. He's describing what it felt like to watch your own body just disintegrate for a completely unknown reason. And you have to imagine the people suffering from this had no clue what was happening. Was it a curse? Some kind of infection? So the huge question for centuries was this: what was this sickness, and how in the world could it be stopped? To find the answer, we've got to go back in time. See, this wasn't a new problem, not at all. Descriptions of this illness actually date back to ancient Egypt, more than 3,000 years ago. It was like this persistent shadow that just followed humanity through wars, famines, and long, hard winters. Okay, so let's cut to the chase. Today we know exactly what it is. The culprit is scurvy. And here's the thing, it's not a virus or some bacteria, it's what's called a deficiency disease. Put simply, it's what happens when your body is completely starved of vitamin C. It causes the very fabric of you, your connective tissue, to just break down. Now, while scurvy definitely happened on land, it truly became a monster during the Great Age of Discovery. When sailors set off on these incredibly long voyages, they were unknowingly creating the perfect storm for this disease to just run rampant. And the toll was just catastrophic. On Vasco da Gama's voyage, 2/3 of his entire crew were gone. When Magellan first sailed around the world, he lost more than 80% of his men. For hundreds of years, getting on a ship was a total gamble, and scurvy was holding the deadliest cards. In just 2 centuries, it's estimated that scurvy killed at least 1 million sailors. 1 million people. I mean, that's more than were lost in many, many major wars. This wasn't just a disease. It was a force of history, literally shaping the fate of empires and expeditions. Now, here's what's so fascinating. A cure was actually known, just not by the people who needed it the most. In 1536, the explorer Jacques Cartier was watching his men die in what is now Canada. A local tribe, the Iroquois, showed them a remedy, a tea made from cedar. And it worked like a miracle. But that lesson, it was lost, because the Europeans didn't understand why it worked. So the mystery remained unsolved for another 200 years. The breakthrough wouldn't come from some dramatic, flashy discovery, but from a really simple, methodical experiment that was conducted out at sea. All right, let's meet our detective, James Lind. He was a surgeon in the British Royal Navy, and he was just sick and tired of watching sailors die from this horrible thing. So instead of just accepting the dozens of folk remedies and, frankly, wild theories, he decided to do something revolutionary: test them scientifically. So aboard the HMS Salisbury, he conducted what we now recognize as the very first controlled clinical trial. He took 12 very sick sailors, kept their basic diets exactly the same, and then gave each pair a different potential cure: cider, vinegar, seawater, and, crucially, some citrus fruits. And the results? Well, they were just stunningly clear. The sailors getting things like vinegar and seawater, they just got worse. But the 2 men given oranges and lemons, they recovered so fast they were back on duty within days. The answer was right there, proven by methodical observation. Now, you'd think this would change everything overnight, right? But new ideas, even proven ones, can be incredibly slow to take hold. It took over 40 years of bureaucratic nonsense and debate for the British Navy to finally act. But in 1795, they did it. They made lemon or lime juice a required part of every sailor's diet. And just like that, scurvy was practically eliminated from the fleet. And British sailors got that famous nickname, limeys. So Lind had found the cure. He figured out the what. But the next part of the mystery was why it worked. What was in those lemons that could literally hold a person's body together? To answer that, we have to zoom in, way, way in, to the molecular level. The hero molecule is ascorbic acid, which we all know as vitamin C. Now here's the twist. Most animals can actually make their own vitamin C from glucose. But somewhere, way back in our evolutionary past, humans, along with other primates, guinea pigs, and fruit bats, we lost that ability. It's a weird evolutionary quirk. We absolutely have to get it from our food. So why is vitamin C so incredibly important? Well, it all comes down to a protein called collagen. Collagen is pretty much everywhere in your body. It's the structure for your skin, your bones, your blood vessels. A good way to think of it is as the molecular glue, or maybe like the steel rebar in concrete, that gives your body its strength and its form. And here is where the problem starts. See, your body is constantly making new collagen, but the tiny enzyme responsible for building it properly, well, it isn't perfect. Sometimes it just misfires and completely deactivates itself. Okay, let's break this down. It's not as complicated as it sounds. You have this enzyme that's building collagen, but every so often it messes up and it gets stuck. It's deactivated. This is where vitamin C becomes the superhero. Its job is to swoop in, fix the iron atom in that enzyme, and essentially recharge it. This lets the collagen factory get right back to work, building strong, stable tissue.
So you see what's happening, right? No vitamin C means there's nothing to hit the recharge button on that enzyme. The collagen that does get made is weak and unstable. The body's glue literally dissolves. Your blood vessels become fragile, your gums rot, old wounds can even reopen. This one little chemical reaction explains every single one of those gruesome symptoms. So, case closed, right? A disease of ancient sailors and crusaders, solved by science and a daily glass of orange juice. Well, there's a modern-day twist to this story that might actually surprise you.
I mean, knowing what we know, and with fresh fruit so widely available for so many of us, you just assume scurvy is completely a thing of the past, a historical footnote. But is it? Check this out. A study from Arizona State University found something pretty shocking. Half of the students they surveyed weren't getting enough vitamin C. 10% had serious deficiencies, and about 1%, that's 2 students in this group, had levels so low they were likely in the early stages of actual scurvy. This isn't on a 16th century warship. This is a modern college campus. You know, the lesson from this whole centuries-long medical mystery is remarkably simple, and it's just as true today as it was on the HMS Salisbury. This entire story, this tale of empires and discovery, of a million deaths and a simple cure, it all comes down to a single molecule our bodies can't make for themselves. It's a powerful reminder of how fragile we can be, and it all points to one simple piece of advice. Eat your fresh fruit and vegetables.